My name is Vladimir Kolesnikov, aka Occipital Optic on Instagram, and today I would like to talk to you guys about editing. So, um, editing, I don't think there's a right way to edit a picture, but I think there's definitely wrong ways to edit a picture because I think that as long as you can defend your artistic decisions, any edit is good. Some people prefer a more natural type of edit, while some people like to get like really creative. I think that as long as you can justify your decisions in editing, I think any edit can be a good edit. So, with that being said, I think that editing can be, in fact, broken down into four different major categories. The first being cropping, the second being exposure slash dynamic range correction. So, like really pulling out detail from shadows and highlights. The third being color correction. And the fourth being everything else, like vignetting and stuff like that. So, I'm going to break this down into three, maybe four different little episodes, tutorials, where I'm going to kind of focus a little bit more in depth on each thing. So, with that being said, I'm going to get started with cropping. So, I have this picture here. It's me by a waterfall. And I'm just going to show you all the different ways that you can crop this image and how that can impact the final image. I think that people frequently overlook cropping as something unnecessary or like an optional thing, but it can really make or break a picture. So I'm going to show you how I went through different steps to crop this picture in 10 different ways and how I came to those conclusions. So, first of all, we have our subject here. That's our subject. Everything else is kind of extra. And furthermore, our subject is kind of almost overshadowed by this really light cluster of rocks over here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop these rocks out. So this is our second crop. As you can see, the subject is a little bit more prominent in this image. The waterfall is a little bit more prominent, and we got rid of some of the foreground. Sometimes foreground can be useful in guiding a viewer's eye into the subject, but here I felt like it was just kind of taking away. So this is our second crop. Alternatively, instead of cropping from the bottom, we can crop from the top and kind of just set it up kind of like this. So you can do that as well. And just because this area is really light and our eyes naturally gravitate towards the lightest part of the picture, I'm gonna pull a gradient over it. Pull a gradient over it and just bring down some of the highlights and shadows to kind of bring more attention to our subject. So this is our second crop. It's, I don't know, in my opinion, it's not as good because this rock is cut off, and I mean, this cluster of rocks kind of balances out the subject, but this rock is kind of cut off, and anything that is cut off, it's kind of, you want to either leave it in or out of the picture. So I don't know, I'm not super thrilled about this, but this is another route that you can go. As you can see, this is our third crop. Alternatively, going back to the second one, instead of having your subject dead center, which is kind of boring, it might be interesting to, shift your subject more to the left, which brings me to point number 4. And number 5 if we drag it over all the way to the right side. So depending on what's going on in the picture, it might be smart to crop it to the left or to the right, whatever you feel. Either way, it makes it a little bit more interesting than just having your subject dead center. But having it dead center isn't that bad of an idea sometimes, because I guess it's kind of like a golden standard. Alternatively, you could crop even tighter by cropping from the bottom and the top. So you kind of get this as your image. And here, as you can see, the main subject is pretty prominent. You have the waterfall in the background, and you don't really have any other distractions going on. So that would be our 6th crop. Another thing that you can do is, you can crop even tighter. And that way, your main subject is filling the entire image. So that's cropping without really rotating. So another thing that you can do to fill the frame is, if you have a vertical picture, you can always change it to horizontal. And that gives it a completely different perspective. So again, eliminate distractions. And there is your 8th crop. I kind of skipped over the 7th one just because, I mean, it's interesting, but you kind of get the idea. You can just move stuff around. So anyways, going back to the horizontal crop, again, it kind of fills the frame with your subject, which is that guy in the middle, eliminating any sort of distractions from the top or bottom. If you want, you can again play around with composition. You can put them up here. You can bring it in even tighter. These are all valid options. And just to give you a little demo, I just cropped it like this. You can bring it up to the top. You can crop real tight. So there's a lot of different options that you have with cropping vertically and horizontally. I strongly encourage everybody to play around with different crops and different compositional rules and really see how many different variations you can get from just one picture. So yeah, I hope I kind of got the point across that cropping can really make or break a picture. See, like this doesn't really have the same effect as something like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's any crop that's particularly better. I'm curious to see which one you guys think is better. Feel free to respond in comments with like a snapshot number, see which crop I guess is most popular for all you guys. But yeah, that's kind of cropping for you. I guess to recap on all the points, the purpose of cropping is to kind of fix any compositional problems you had when actually taking the picture in camera. So if you shot kind of too wide, like I did, it's always kind of smart to crop it down a little bit, get rid of distractions, emphasize your subject, fill the frame, you know. And also cropping kind of shows intent, that everything's kind of exactly where it should be, and there's really nothing missing in the picture that you wanted to include, or anything that's in the picture that you didn't want to include. So yeah, cropping.